Something felt off the moment I started comparing the numbers. Not dramatically off, quietly off. The kind of off that makes you stop mid-scroll and go back. I was reading a report about how a small country in Southeast Asia was making Western governments genuinely uneasy. Not through military threat, not through ideology, through something far more unsettling. Through simply thriving. And the more I looked into why, the more I realized the story was bigger than I expected. Stay with me on this, because by the end, the country you assumed was behind might be the one quietly pulling ahead, and the reasons go much deeper than you think. Before we go further, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Stories like this don't always get pushed by the algorithm, so make sure you find us before we find you. 1. The geopolitical game, why the West is paying attention. Let's start here, because this is the part most people never talk about. When Western governments talk about feeling unsafe, they are not only talking about crime, inflation, or social unrest at home. They are also watching a broader global shift, and Malaysia is increasingly part of that conversation. China has been Malaysia's largest trading partner for 16 consecutive years. That fact alone places Malaysia in a strategic position that Western policymakers cannot ignore. At the same time, Malaysia has openly expressed interest in deeper engagement with emerging economic blocs like BRICS. In Western capitals, that isn't read as a neutral move. It's read as a signal, a willingness to explore alternatives to a US-led economic order. Then there is the South China Sea. Malaysia maintains territorial claims, it conducts patrols, it files diplomatic protests, but unlike some of its neighbors, it avoids loud confrontation. It chooses quiet diplomacy with Beijing, not submission, not alliance, but calculated restraint. That frustrates Western strategists because it means Malaysia refuses to play the role of frontline proxy. And then there's the semiconductor question. Malaysia is one of the world's most important hubs for chip assembly and testing, roughly 13% of global capacity. It sits inside the supply chain of nearly every device you touch. Washington has publicly raised concerns that Chinese firms could use Malaysia as a workaround to bypass US export controls. At the same time, Beijing has expressed grave concern over US-Malaysia trade frameworks that could force Kuala Lumpur into American economic security rules. Malaysia is being pulled from both sides, and instead of choosing, it is doing something that unsettles both camps. It is continuing to grow. The discomfort isn't about Malaysia collapsing. It's about Malaysia demonstrating that a country can remain non-aligned, economically relevant, and domestically stable, all at the same time. That's the quiet disruption. 2. Values, boycotts, and a shift in confidence. There is another layer here, and it's more emotional than economic. Strong domestic support for Palestine has translated into visible public action. Western brands have faced consumer boycotts, not because of government mandates, but because of public pressure. This isn't abstract. It's visible in shopping malls, online campaigns, and street conversations. At the same time, Malaysia and Indonesia have openly criticized the European Union's deforestation regulations, especially their impact on palm oil exports. Malaysia supplies roughly a quarter of the world's palm oil. To Malaysian policymakers and farmers, UE rules feel less like environmental cooperation and more like economic punishment dressed in moral language. Locals talk about this openly, in parliament, in newspapers, in WhatsApp groups. What it reveals is a shift. Malaysia is no longer overly concerned about appearing acceptable to Western institutions. It's increasingly comfortable defending its own interests, even when that creates friction. That confidence is relatively new,
and it's being noticed. 3. The economy and the pressures locals feel every day. Malaysia's economic position explains why it can move this way, but it also explains the tensions locals are living with. Geographically, Malaysia controls access to the Strait of Malacca. Over 80,000 vessels pass through it annually. That alone makes Malaysia indispensable to global trade. But geography is only useful if you build.
Malaysia has done that through industrial parks, port infrastructure, and export-driven manufacturing. The electrical and electronics sector accounts for more than 30% of exports. Penang and Selangor host major operations for Intel, Bosch, and Texas Instruments. At the same time, locals are acutely aware of economic pressure points. The ringgit's weakness between 2023 and 2024 was not theoretical. It showed up in grocery bills, imported goods, overseas tuition, and travel costs. Malaysians talk about this daily, online and offline. And then there are subsidies. In 2024, Malaysia began rolling back diesel subsidies. The government framed it as necessary reform. Many citizens felt it immediately, especially logistics workers, small business owners, and rural communities. There is an ongoing anxiety about what happens next. Fuel subsidies are part of the social contract here. Any move to rationalize them triggers intense debate. This is Malaysia's balancing act: modernize without breaking affordability. That tension is real, and locals know it. 4. Social cohesion, practiced, not perfect. Walk through Kuala Lumpur on a Thursday night. You'll see Malay, Chinese, Indian, and foreign diners sharing the same food courts, same tables, same prices, same casual ease. This isn't symbolic multiculturalism, it's routine. Malaysia has deep ethnic complexity. The Bumiputra policy remains a constant topic of debate. Many non-Malay citizens feel excluded from certain opportunities. These conversations are not hidden. But Malaysia has something many countries lack: experience. Decades of negotiating difference, of living with tension without letting it fracture daily life. In contrast, many Western societies are encountering social fragmentation at a speed they are unprepared for. Political polarization, declining trust, and cultural backlash feel raw and unresolved. Malaysia's coexistence isn't flawless, but it is practiced, and that matters. 5. Brain drain, housing, and the generational question. There is a contradiction Malaysians talk about constantly. Talent leaves. Doctors, engineers, tech workers, young professionals, many head to Singapore, Australia, or the UK for higher pay. At the same time, property prices, especially in Kuala Lumpur, have risen faster than wages. New developments sit half-empty, priced beyond what average local salaries can support. Young Malaysians feel squeezed. But here's the difference. Most still believe effort leads somewhere, that the ladder exists, even if it's steeper than before. In much of the West, that belief is eroding entirely. That psychological difference matters more than any GDP statistic. 6. Healthcare. Speed versus strain. Western healthcare systems are under visible strain. In the UK, NHS waiting lists crossed 7.6 million in 2023. Ambulance response delays became routine headlines. In Malaysia, private healthcare offers specialist access in days, not months. That's why medical tourists fly in from Europe and the Middle East. Public healthcare has pressure: underfunding, overcrowding, staff burnout. Locals know this, but the system still functions. And that gap between strain and collapse is where trust lives. 7. Cost of living, when the math still works. In San Francisco, rent exceeds $3,000 for a one-bedroom. In Kuala Lumpur, it's often under $700. That difference reshapes life. Malaysians still eat out regularly, still gather socially, still live like a middle class. In much of the West,
middle-class life has quietly disappeared behind bills. 8. Safety, perception, and reality. Gallup surveys show Americans feeling less safe than the global average. Retail chains are pulling out of major U.S. cities, not from lack of demand, but from disorder. In Malaysia, crime exists, but it hasn't normalized chaos. That difference shapes how people feel about the future. 9. Why this actually matters. This is not a claim that Malaysia is perfect. Corruption exists, political instability frustrates citizens, governance is messy. But at street level, safety, food, affordability, and community, Malaysia delivers something many Western cities no longer do. And geopolitically, it's positioning itself without asking permission. That combination is rare. If this video made you think or argue, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And also, let us know where you are watching from. If you live in Malaysia, what felt accurate here and what didn't? If you're in the West, does this reflect what you're experiencing? Drop it in the comments, because the most important part of this conversation isn't what I said, it's what you see happening around you. If safety, affordability, and social cohesion are the real measures of success, which country right now is actually moving in the right direction?